Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, actually. So, usually this class is at 10. I had to move it till 12 today because we're doing something this morning and I just didn't want to be all rushed and whatnot. Okay, so a couple of new faces. So for those of you that are new here and new to me, my name is Master Quang. I'm one of the monks here at the temple. I need to get rid of that sound. Anyway, so for the past couple months, we've been going through the Five Hindrances in meditation. The Five Hindrances are essentially the obstacles that we will all go through during our meditation practice. And we will typically get caught up in one or more of them each time we meditate. And so today we will be covering the fourth one. So just to go over quickly the first few, the Five Hindrances are desire, or attachment to desire, ill will or aversion, sloth and torpor or laziness, restlessness and worry, which we'll cover today, and the fifth one is doubt. So during our meditation practice, we typically our mind falls within one of those five hindrances, one or more typically. And so I brought this up, or at least I'm covering it, because we will have our meditation retreat in December 11th. It's a Saturday. So this will be our first official retreat, or formal retreat, that we've had in quite some time. We haven't had a retreat last year for obvious zombie apocalypse reasons, and haven't had anything this year since we've been trying to complete the construction of this new shrine. So December 11th is going to be our official meditation retreat. So if you are interested in joining, there's a little bit more information. There's the schedule of the day on our website or Facebook page, any event, wherever the event is on, pretty much any of our social platforms. We'll give you a little bit more information about the event and of the schedule. The schedule is 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So it's a day full of meditation, essentially. It is sporadic throughout the day, and we're not going to sit for too long. Our longest sit session is only 45 minutes of meditation, which really isn't that long. And it'll seem shorter and more doable when we're in a big group, which typically is. Usually for the retreats, we have about 15 plus people or so. So it's a nice group to be able to practice with. So if you're interested in that, you do have to register online, since we have to cap it at a certain number, since we don't have enough rooms available for too many people. So please do register if you are interested in attending. Again, that's Saturday, December 11. Okay. So today we're going to go over restlessness and worry, the fourth of the five hindrances. So restlessness, last class we covered laziness or sleepiness. So restlessness and worry is pretty much just the opposite of that, right? So with laziness and sleepiness is just that. We're lazy and we're sleepy. We're too lazy and we're too sleepy to meditate, right? We don't have enough energy. Whereas with restlessness, we have too much energy, right? So depending on your energetic level or your practice in meditation, you may have been able to kind of figure out what time of day is best to meditate for yourself, right? Sometimes too early in the morning is just too early for people. Sometimes late at night is too late. Or at midday, we're just wanting to take that quick cat nap, right? So I've always pushed everyone all through these classes to experiment with your practice, to experiment with different methods and techniques, especially time frames throughout the day, to find what's going to work for you best, right? Not last year, but the year, or maybe it was last year, Whenever we started the whole class, we went over probably a dozen different meditation methods and techniques to meditate, right? There's no one right, best way to meditate. It's really going to be up to the meditator, right? So in the Buddhist time, the most traditional form of meditation was meditating on the breath, right? Either counting the breath or feeling the sensations of the breath as you're breathing, either through the nose or through the abdomen or chest. So there are different ways and methods to meditate and different things to meditate on, right? So we went over at least a dozen different ones to help you find which one works for you best. Because what's going to work for me is not going to work for you. It won't work for anybody else, right? So giving you different methods to be able to experiment with, essentially. That way, through that experimentation, you can find something that's going to work for you best, and you know it's going to work for you. It may not work for you forever, right? It may work for you for a few weeks, months, maybe even years. But essentially, and the point is that eventually you'll drop that method, right? Because a method is only a guide to help you continue to maintain your focus, to help you maintain that concentration that you need during the meditation. And so it's just a guide. It's just that map. It's a recipe to help you cook meditation. But eventually, once you do it often enough, you won't need that recipe. It's raw memory, right? It's root memory. You know exactly what you need to do, so you don't need the recipe anymore. So when we find these methods, it's going to be very helpful, especially during the first few months or years of your practice. But eventually, you'll be able to sit and just get into the zone, right? Get zened out. So with restlessness, as I mentioned, it's the opposite of sleepiness. So it's when we have too much energy. And nowadays, it seems like that's impossible because we're so busy with life that there's no such thing as having too much energy. But it's not just physical energy, right? Sometimes we are just physically energetic and we have a lot of energy, right? We just want to jump around. We want to dance it out. We want to fight it out. We want to do whatever it is just to kind of get rid of that energy, right? Like kids, right? Or dogs when they like do little zoomies and just run around the house and the yard is because they're trying to release their energy. So sometimes we have the same idea of wanting to do that. But it's not just physical, it's also emotional, it's mental, it's psychological, restlessness too, or if we're sitting in meditation, and one thing that kind of happens quite often to many people is obsessive planning, right? So I always bring the example of if you're sitting in meditation, and right now it's pretty much either lunchtime or close to lunchtime, it depends on when you eat lunch, but now if you sit and you haven't had lunch yet, probably the thought of food is going to come up and rise up in the mind, right? So you're going to think of food now. And so now you're going to think, oh, what do I want to eat? Where do I want to go? Do I want to cook something? Do I have enough ingredients to cook whatever I want? Is the place that I want to go open today? Are they blah, 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 right? You continue the planning of food for this session. So now you've kind of ruined that section of meditation with planning for food, planning to eat, right? And so we have this obsessive planning with anything else really in life, right? If we're trying to get a new job, if we're moving somewhere, or if we're wanting to start something new, we have this mentality of creating this kind of to-do list in our minds, right? Which isn't always bad, but when you're meditating, that's not what you want to do, right? And part of that is also insecurity. Part of the worry and the restlessness is insecurity, because as we go through life, we always want to be able to control our life to a certain point. We want to be able to control the outcomes that we plan, right? And if we fear that that control is not going to happen or go the way we want it, then we kind of start freaking out. Or we just ignore it and kind of push it aside, and we always say, oh, let's just not think about it, right? How many times have we said that? Let's just not think about it. It's because that's part of aversion. Part of the second hindrance is now that we're not facing that fear. We're pushing it off. We're blocking it. We're ignoring it, which is not what we want to do, right? The antidote to most of these hindrances is pure mindfulness, right? Each hindrance has a different specific point of mindfulness that you want to address that hindrance, but for the most part, mindfulness in general is going to be the antidote, right? And so instead of sitting in meditation and your mind's wandering out there and your body's here, right? You want to be able to bring that mind back here into the here and now, right? You want to come back to where we are right now. Because if you're thinking of food and you're thinking of ingredients to buy, now your mind's at Walmart, your mind's at H-E-B, your mind's at Whole Foods, right? Your mind's not sitting here with you, your mind's out there. So we want to be able to avoid doing that. And to avoid doing that is to be very, continue with being diligently mindful, which obviously is kind of easier said than done, but with practice, right, our mind is a muscle, our brain is a muscle. Just like if you're trying to go work out your body, you're literally tearing muscle to build new muscle, right? So same thing we have to do with our mind. We have to tear up our mind and trying to convince it not to run away to H-E-B or to Walmart for food and to stay here with us, right? Our mind, we always think that we are our minds, right? We are who we think, we are what we think, right? And it's really not. Our mind is, there's a whole Buddhist thing to it, but I won't go into it right now because that's a whole different topic. But point is that our mind is typically in control of our lives, right? Our ego is in control of us. Our ego is telling us, hey, this is who you are. This is who you should be. This is who you should be associating with. This is how much money you should be making. This is how your life should be. This is where you should be going. This is how blah, 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 right? This ego creates this mentality of what we should be doing, how we should be doing it, et cetera, et cetera. But also part of that is that when we are trying to meditate specifically and be mindful and be present, that our mind is saying, hey, no, we're too busy for that. We're too important to be sitting here in meditation. We're too busy to be trying to concentrate in the here and now. We got life to do. We got family to take care of. We got a business to run. We have money to make, right? And so because we aren't always meditators, our mind's constantly going to be trying to distract us with those types of thinking. And so when we are meditating and we're trying to train our mind, we're training that habit of our mind trying to take us elsewhere and just kind of bringing it back to the here and now, right? Never mind. I was going to tell the whole story, but never mind. I'm already talking way past where I'm supposed to be talking. So anyway, that mindfulness training, the mind training, is something that we have to train for, right? It's not something you only can do while sitting on the cushion during meditation, but something you can do throughout your day, right? We don't expect you to be mindful 24/7, but in moments where you can be mindful, right? In Buddhism, for Buddhist monks and nuns, we have these short mantras called gathas, right? We have 52 of them. And these are 52 mantras that all monks and nuns memorize because they are mantras that we recite as we do different things throughout the day. So when we wake up, we have a mantra to recite. When we get out of bed, we have a mantra to recite. When we put on our clothes, we have a mantra to recite. When we're brushing our teeth, when we're changing, when we're showering, when we're cleaning, cooking, walking, sitting, anything that we do, we have a mantra to recite. Why do we have a mantra to recite? To help us be mindful of what we're doing. Because what happens in our life every day is, most of our lives is very routine. We wake up, we eat, we shower, we get ready for work, we go to work, we come back, we eat, watch TV, sleep, and repeat, right? And because that becomes so habitual, so automatic, an autopilot, that by the end of the day, you don't even remember how you woke up, how you even went to work, what you did at work, right? Because it's so routine, it's on autopilot, we're on autopilot. But if you're able to be mindful of the things that you do, you're able to enjoy the actual things that you're doing. It sounds kind of dumb to think that you can enjoy brushing your teeth, but But the act of being able to brush your teeth, right, you can look at it different ways. You can be humble about it and thankful that you have the ability to brush your teeth, right? Be thankful that you have a place to brush your teeth at, you have a home to brush your teeth, you have running clean water, right? So you can look at it different ways, but if you're able to be mindful of just brushing your teeth, right, you can and be mindful of how it feels, what you're tasting, what you're hearing, right, what you're thinking. Just being mindful, and the simple things that you do will help you be mindful for other things that you do in your life, right? So I always say when you're walking back to your car before and after class, just be mindful of the walk, right? Be mindful of your surroundings. Be mindful of where you're walking, right? There's still some construction going on outside, so it's not a smooth walk 100%, but it's smooth enough we're able to at least enjoy the walk, right? We have a lot of statues around, we have a lot of fruit trees. It's too hot now for our flowers to be growing, but if there were flowers around, you can enjoy the flowers, enjoy the animals that we have, right? But if you just come and go, you're missing out on all the potential beauty that's around you. And that's anywhere, even when you're driving or walking from your house to your garage or from your car to your work, right? And just being able to be mindful of it, of the walk itself, right? That's one part of it, is being able to be mindful of the walk itself, but also be mindful of what you're thinking of, because the thinking part is the dangerous part of our life, right? We start thinking of good things, bad things, right? And because everything starts as a thought, right? And if we don't catch that thought, if it's a bad thought, then we're going to say something bad. And if we don't catch ourselves after saying something bad, then we're going to do something bad, right? So it always starts as a thought, speech, and action. And so if we're able to be mindful of how we're thinking and what we're thinking, especially in negative situations, right? Maybe we're arguing with somebody, or we are about to say something mean or nasty to somebody. If we're able to be mindful of how our thinking's happening, how our mind is working, then we can say, hey, I probably shouldn't be thinking this, or I shouldn't be saying this, or I shouldn't be doing this, right? You're able to stop yourself from doing something bad before you do something bad. Because what's going to happen after you do something bad? Hopefully you regret it, maybe, if you're a decent person, right? So, but we want to be able to avoid having to regret anything in the first place, right? And in order to do that, we have to be diligent and mindful of how we're thinking in those situations. I always bring up the example of road rage, because as some of you know, I have a slight road rage problem, just a little bit. But luckily, I don't have to drive. I don't drive as much anymore, so it's not a big deal. But road rage is a very good example of how our minds work, especially how our ego works. Because what typically happens when someone cuts you off, you're yelling at them, you're flipping them off, you're cursing them out. Maybe you're even trying to speed up and cut them off too, right? What is any of that doing, first of all? What good is that doing to anybody? Nothing, no good whatsoever. It's your mind saying, hey, you're better than that person. How dare they cut you off? Who do they think they are? Right? Essentially what's going on. We won't admit it to ourselves that we think we're better than them, but that's how our mind is working in the background, right? Because your ego, your mind is saying, hey, you're better than this person. How dare they cut you off? Flip them off, curse them out. Go run them over if you have to, right? If you do attempt to run them over, what's going to happen? You may cause an accident. You may get hurt. They may get hurt. Other people may get hurt. Someone may even die, right? So what was the point? There's no point. But if you're mindful of your thought process during that time, you're able to avoid all that chaos that may end up happening, right? Mindfulness. Oh, goodness. Okay. I'm way off topic. Well, I'm not really way off topic, but I'm off topic of where I'm supposed to be. Okay. So, and part of that restlessness is is with anything else that we do in life, right? And there's a Buddhist system called the Abhidharma, which is essentially Buddhist psychology when we dig deeper into Buddhism. And in the Abhidharma, in Buddhist psychology, there is a section where it discusses guilt and remorse, right? And how remorse is a little bit more positive than guilt, right? Because remorse is the genuine feeling of feeling pain for what you did or what you said, whereas guilt is just kind of going over and over and over of what you did, right? And so with guilt, sometimes we identify ourselves with that guilt because we feel so bad about it, right? Maybe we caused that crash because of our road rage. Maybe someone got hurt, maybe someone even died, right? And so now you're feeling so guilty that your entire identity is wrapped around that crash. Now all of a sudden you're a potential murderer, right? Because of that road rage. So now that identification with that guilt is just cause so much restlessness in the mind, right? What is restlessness? Restlessness is just the ability to get over what's going on in our minds, essentially, right? Whether we have too much energy going on in our body, right, or our mind, it's something that we cling to and we can't get over. Because we can't either accept the situation, we can't forgive ourselves for the situation, right? But if we're able to accept what happened and be remorseful and forgive ourselves or forgive others, and then we're able to let it go and move on, right? Which is what we typically should be doing. And so as we sit for meditation, as we walk to our cars, as we get up in the mornings, right? Part of being a good meditator isn't just sitting down for meditation for 10, 15, 20, 30, an hour a day. Being a good meditator, practitioner, is being able to carry that practice of meditation and mindfulness through you throughout the day in different situations and to different activities that you do, right? Whether you're working, you're driving, you're cooking, you're cleaning, right? Meditation isn't just sitting, right? Meditation isn't about clearing your mind, right? I think last week during Sunday service, I tried to clarify that part of a misconception of meditation is that you have to sit and try to clear your mind. That's stupid. Impossible, even, right? It's not the point of meditation. Maybe when you become a Zen master, clear your mind all you want. But until then, the point is to watch your mind, to observe how your mind works, to be able to think and watch the thinking without entertaining the thinking, right? Something that's pretty difficult to do, but possible to do, is to, as you're thinking, as you're being distracted in meditation, is to kind of sit back and watch that thought process happen, right? Because it's pretty difficult to, if food came up, it's difficult to just watch how that thinking works. Instead, we entertain that thought and we start thinking of what we want to eat, where we want to eat, how we want to eat it, et cetera, right? But if we're able to watch and see how that thinking happens, we're able to eventually, over time, see a pattern, see a trend of how our mind works, and what arises in our mind as those distractions arise. Because it could be anything, right? It has to be food. It could be an emotion towards a person or towards a place or a thing, right? And so as you meditate and you observe that thought coming up over and over again, hopefully you see a pattern of that specific person or place or whatever it is, right? That way, when you see that trend and see that pattern, you're able to identify exactly what's causing you to have distress in your mind and do something about it, right? Whether it's a person that you have to unfriend or get away from, or maybe you have to end a relationship or a relation, or even move or get a new job, whatever it may be, right? But a good thing of watching how our mind works and finding those trends is because those are the things that are causing our meditation to be distracted. And so if we're able to find those distractions and figure out what they are and why they're arising, then we can deal with them. And if we deal with them and get rid of them to a certain point, then those are no longer distractions coming up during meditation. And now your mind's a little bit freer to do actual meditation instead of being distracted about it, right? But until we can sit back and watch our thinking, for right now, as we sit and meditate, we want to be aware of our thoughts, of our thinking, right? Don't try to push out the thought process. If you're sitting down and meditating and you're constantly distracted, don't think that you're not doing meditation correctly. You're actually doing exactly what you need to be doing. Because if you're aware that you're thinking and you're being distracted, that's actually a good thing. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're aware that you're thinking. You're aware that you're distracted. It's exactly what you need to be doing. It's just being aware of what is happening, right? Because that's a lot of things that I hear from people is, I can't sit and not think. Yeah, who told you not to think? I didn't tell you not to think, right? Thinking is a natural habit that humans do. You can't stop that thinking. Unless you're brain dead or dead, you can't stop thinking. So meditation isn't to stop thinking. It's to know that you're thinking, right? And be aware of it. Because, like I said, our mind, our ego, our personality is saying, hey, no. We don't have time to sit here and meditate. We need to be thinking about what to do later. We need to be thinking about our to-do list for tomorrow, for the week, right? We need to be thinking about how we take care of our family. What do we have to do at work? What do we have to accomplish? What we need to buy or sell or whatever it may be, right? Our mind doesn't want us to be present. Our mind doesn't want us to meditate and be peaceful. And that's not its job. Its job is to make you very unpeaceful, right? So part of the meditation practice is to learn to override that thought process, to work our brain into saying, hey, hold your horses. We're here to meditate, right? And so the more we do that, the more we're able to create. The more we meditate, and the more we meditate, and the more we learn to watch our thought process, to watch our thinking, control our mind, then we're able to control the false perceptions that we create in our mind, right? The false stories. Because what happens if we're driving down the road and we see an accident, right? Typically, we want to slow down enough to see what happened or what may have caused it, right? Oh, maybe it was the back driver or the front vehicle who slammed on the brakes and there was a fender bender or whatever it may be, right? Without even knowing what actually happened, we already create a story for the accident. We already assume who caused the accident. We assume the gender, the age, the capability of their driving skills without really knowing truly those people. We create a story for them, right? The same thing with anything else. We hear the door open, and now we're thinking, who's this person? How dare they open the door in the middle of a meditation session and ruin my session, right? We start thinking of who they are, what they're here for, why are they late, et cetera, right? We already create a story for them. And we do that all the time. If we have a new employee, we already, sometimes, depending on the type of person we are, we may even judge them before we even meet them. Before we even know their name, we're already judging them. I don't like that, what they're wearing. I don't like the way that they stand. I don't like the way that they talk. I don't like their hairdo. We're already judging this person before we already know them, right? We're already creating a story for them before we even know their name. So as we met, and when that happens, that creates negative misconceptions in our mind, right? And then it also causes expectations, right? Good or bad. Sometimes we create expectations for certain situations or people or places, and then when we finally meet them or we go there or we interact with that and it doesn't meet our expectations, now we're kind of bummed out, right? Because maybe we're traveling somewhere, for instance, and this happens a lot when we go on vacation, right? We create an expectation that we're going to have fun, that we're going to party, or we're going to do whatever, we're going to sightsee, we're going to see amazing things, take cool pictures, etc., etc. And we go there and it's completely not picture perfect. It's completely the opposite of what we thought it would be, right? So now our whole expectation of this amazing vacation that we had is broken down. It's false. We're bummed out. We're not really having a good time anymore because our expectation of this great place is no longer a great place, right? And so by meditating, by being mindful of how we think and watching our thinking and watching what arises during any situation, helps us identify those false perceptions that we're making, helps us identify those negative thinking habits that arise, right? It helps us just to be able to be present and to see and react according to the here and now, right? Because a lot of time, even when we're walking and we're already thinking about our drive home. You're thinking about lunch, you're thinking about dinner. Your mind is elsewhere. Your mind is already 10 miles away when your body is still over here. It happens a lot, it happens every day. But we want to sever that that disconnect that we have from our mind and body and just be present and enjoy what's happening right now. Right? Okay, what time is it? Okay, I've overspoken. Okay, I'm gonna stop. If I could continue, I'm gonna continue to the next hindrance, and I'm gonna wait for that because I'm very schedule-oriented. I have to be. I'm doing these in specific order to make sure they are done before our retreat. Our retreat topic this year will be specifically on developing concentration through mindfulness. So these hindrances will be very handy, I hope, to the participants of the retreat. And I'm trying to include a tea ceremony somewhere towards the end of it, but it's 30 minutes, and I really need more like 90 minutes, so I'll have to see how that schedules out. Anyway, any questions, concerns, emotional outbursts? Yes.
I was sitting at the terminal about to leave, and there was this young lady, and we struck up a conversation. And she said, I don't know why she said, but she mentioned meditating. And she said, I have not been able to get back to meditating. I've been thinking about it, that's all I've been doing. And I mentioned, well, catch myself, like, oh gosh, you know what, I'm not listening to this person, I'm fading off again. And so I'll start taking breaths, I'll start literally meditating in the middle of the conversation, and it brings me back to what they're saying. And I'm able to have a better moment with them. Sometimes I want to hear what they're saying, but that's a whole other subject. But that is the whole practice of meditation, right? It's just the more you can be observant of your thoughts, you can control them. And then in the middle, I had a lot of meditation on this vacation. I took my elderly parents, and I was getting frustrated because they're slow, and it's a vacation, and I'm like, all I want to do is have fun. And this lady walked up to me, and she said, "Are those your parents?" I said, "Yes, they are." She said, "Take care of them because I don't have my parents," and so forth and so on. She gave me a whole, talk about her parents, and we went back and forth. But she reminded me, she was like, "Hey, you know what I mean? The reason you brought your parents is because you want them to have a good time." And so anyway, she was able to snap me back, and that was really nice too. But if I used my ego and I didn't accept her, she was trying to give me, I would have missed out. You know what I mean? I might have been like, "Hey, mind your business," or whatever it may be. But instead, I was able to receive that because I didn't perceive her as like, kind of like aggressive or like not minding her business, because I actually paid attention to what she was saying. So I was like, so anyway, meditation does help with that. It's actually, that is the purpose. And I didn't find out the purpose until not too long ago.
And how many years have you been here, Cynthia?
It's hard to get all the concepts. It's hard to get all the concepts. But I think
Right.
I just wanted to share that, but it does work. It takes a little practice, and it's slow, and you think you're not feeling too much, or you think, oh gosh, am I doing it right, am I not doing it right, But just the point of observing it, because when you're out in life, then you catch yourself, oh, you know what, I'm making an assumption about this person. And then you're able to just kind of let it go. And then you come in fresh. And so you have a different relationship. They may be exactly who you think they are, but at least you're not going in with the assumption. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for practicing.
I do. I try to. But I practice everywhere all the time. So I just don't have time to do it like that all the time. But I did, from the different meditation types and the different styles and everything, I kind of got caught up with wanting to find out, well, which style and which works for me, and so forth and so on. And then I really listened to the message, and the message is really just meditate, just do it. You're already doing stuff. Like when Roger was saying, I brush my teeth, you know what I mean? That way, if you're concentrating on your teeth, you're giving your brain a break from worrying about the rent, about the kid, about the ex-wife, about the cat, you're just like enjoying it. It doesn't be like, oh my God, I want to brush my teeth, this is the best place ever. But just take a moment for your mind to not have to worry, not be stressed out. And those little times. And now people tell me, you're so slow. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because my reactions are not so quick. You know what I mean? They're not so quick. I'm able to like, well, what is this situation really? What is it really? What am I really looking at? Somebody cut me off, and you know what? I just cut somebody off 10 minutes ago. So, anyways, just
Karma. Oh. It is. Yeah, because I
it does get a little everything else. But the point is just practicing is just that. You practice. In other words, you do at the inopportune time. I get upset, and I'm like, I get all crazy, and I'm like, oh my God, this is what I need to practice. And I start really thinking about it, But other times I don't. Other times I do lose it.
Wow. It's doing what you're doing is meditation, right? If you're walking, just walk. If you're driving, just drive. If you're eating, just eat. That's meditation. I did drive yesterday for the first time in maybe 4 weeks, and I have a need for speed. So I'm like driving, I'm like, why is everyone so slow? And here I am, speeding like 10 miles over the speed limit. But I always have to remind myself to just drive the speed limit and not get pulled over.
There was a news story where I think in New York or somewhere, they have little signs that they give to drivers. And so if you see somebody And I thought, wow, what if we put a target on them? You know, people get upset.
Yeah, because you're calling them out.
But they did it. They give little paddles, and so you're supposed to like wave at a driver to see the traffic. Supposed to go, just drive. But wouldn't they give them a reason to kind of come at you? I think it's better to be Buddhist and just.
Well, I did see a car once. It was a long time ago. I had one of those like it was almost like one of those sign monitors that was like, "Hey, we're open" or whatever kind of thing. Like in the back of their car, had some nasty verbiage on there for people. But I was like, that's an idea to tell them to slow down.
People have it above them. Like, I'm nice. I'm not.
Sounds like a Black Mirror episode. Okay. All right, well, we have some time to actually meditate. So we will do 20 minutes of meditation. And then we'll come back, and if you have any realizations that you would like to share, please do. I will go sit in my seat because I don't like sitting on the chair. What? Well, it's not really a cushion. It's the chair like swivels back on. Never mind. Welcome back, everyone. How was everyone's meditation? Good. I was restless and obsessive planning the retreat. I was like, wait a minute, did I print everything I needed? Do we have everything we need? I won't worry about it until the day before. I did forget to mention, however, since there's a couple of new people, that as we're meditating, and since we're in a fairly quiet place with random spits of sound and noise every once in a while, that, well, for anywhere, as we're meditating or trying to be mindful, I was trying to say this earlier, but I forgot, that one way to watch our mind and control our habit thinking and distraction is to label the distraction that arises. Labeling can be very powerful and helps you stop the entertaining thought before it becomes a whole movie in your head, right? So as you're meditating and you hear a sound or you feel something arise within you or anything, you just give it a quick label, right? So the door opens, don't distract yourself, entertain the thought of who's there, what are they doing, why are they here, why are they late, whatever. Just say door or sound, whatever, right? Hear the truck outside or the car outside, just say truck or sound or noise. Whatever first label that pops into your mind, address it and give it that label. That way you acknowledge what's happening and you're able to move on and let it go and not entertain that thought and obsess over it. Okay. Any last minute words? Cynthia? Right. You newbie, yeah. Yes, that's very common, is to judge yourself. And it's probably one of the worst things you can do. Especially with any new thing you do in life, right? If you're judging yourself, am I doing this right? Is this what I really want to do? Is it pretty enough? Is it good enough? It discourages you, right? But like anything in life, unless you're some sort of prodigy child, right? That you're going to need the practice. You're going to need the effort, the time, the patience to master your craft, right? And that's definitely no exception in meditation. It will take you years, your whole life, to just get rid of 1% of that distracting mind. I've been a meditator for 17 years, and I still get distracted. Obviously, I'm obsessing over the retreat, right? So it's nothing that's gonna stop. But what you want to do is to be aware that it's there. So you asking yourself, or you realizing that thought is there, is exactly what you need to be doing. You're doing it exactly right. You're not, you knowing that's a rookie thought is exactly what a rookie needs to be doing, right? So don't discourage yourself if you're thinking, am I doing this right? Is this the right way, right? If you're judging yourself, then you're discouraging yourself from truly benefiting from the fruits of meditation, which, as Cynthia, right? Like, oh, that's cute.
Start having that I'm so cute, and eventually it just kind of like lightens it and then, helps you just like move on.
Right.
And then I call myself.
And that's actually, I don't know, there's some famous teacher that mentioned that, is to judge these things by giving it silly names, like, oh, that's cute. Oh, am I doing this wrong? That's cute. Or just giving it just make up a silly thing to address that type of thinking, right? Just make up a word. And that way, every time it happens, you can just say that silly name, and it kind of it lightens the exactly. So, but over time and through the practice, you'll see that, as Cynthia brought up, it comes in these random moments almost, right? Where that practice of mindfulness and that practice of awareness will help you diffuse certain situations, intense situations, or, help not cause a fight or an argument or whatever it may be. So don't expect change to happen overnight, right? You may see changes fairly quickly within yourself, right? Which is good, but big change happens over time, like with anything else. Hopefully. That's the plan. Don't take my word for it. Right. Just do what you're doing. Insecurity. Well, one of my
But you just put it up because basically you see signs everywhere where, it's discouraging or words. The stuff that's in our head, so I did it for about a year and a half, but, I guess I think I'm good at that. The signs fell off. They're starting to get old, and I just even if you just write it on your windshield, give it those dry erase markers, that's a good one. It reminds you.
That's what I did to memorize my 52 mantras, is I wrote them on sticky notes and stuck them to everything that I have to recite the mantra for.
But I caught the reaction from everybody. I literally saw it spread. And then I told my mom, I said, you know what, Mom? I said, I apologize. It was done. I apologize. There's nothing. Everything's done. Everything's done. And then just by me saying that, they were like, okay. But because I am so involved with them, that anything I do is going to weigh at them. You know what I mean? So sometimes I do have to absorb that energy so that it stops, so that it don't spread. But I didn't realize how much I affected them until I started being mindful of what exactly people's reactions are to me. So every time I feel entitled to be mad, I'm letting everybody be mad.
Imagine if you could have stopped it at the thought process before you said anything and then before you did anything.
And that's ideally what we want to do, right? But that's why we practice. So we get better. But that's what I'm saying. There's no approach. And you'll start noticing in those little things. A lot of people want to, at least what I thought of, is like you're going to get like this all in your head. It's not. It's about your everyday things. It's about not getting hurt. It's about not upsetting your parents. It's about, being kind to someone. It's about feeling, hey, you know what? I'm not so sure about this path I'm on. Maybe I do need to rethink it. Those are the real tools. Those are the real benefits. Because, like Buddha said, what did he say? He said, and I don't go into reference, I'm not that advanced at it, but basically, there's a lot of scientific stuff to Buddhism, right? There's like those that stuff country, and he had it off like that. But he said, why are you worried about that? You can't figure out how to drive without trying to kill someone. You're kind to your neighbor. Why are you worried about that? That doesn't affect you. What is the stars in life? Beautiful, it's great to know, but first fix yourself, you know what I mean? And so that's what we got to focus on. In my opinion, it's good mind.
It's mind-centered. Yes. Yes, well, we don't have too much going on. So last week, I do want to thank everyone that came last weekend to help us with our walk meditation path that I'm trying to complete over here for it to be ready for a retreat. I'm like basing everything right now on the retreat. But anyway, yes. So if anyone has some time to help, please feel free to say. Right now we're just clearing and leveling the path over there for the walking meditation path, and moving dirt around if anybody wants to help. Otherwise, we've talked too much, so I did enjoy my time with everyone. We'll have our next class back at 10 o'clock as usual, every second and fourth Saturday. We have one more hindrance, and then we're going to go over 3 meditation methods on the breath, walking meditation, and chanting meditation. So 4 more classes before our retreat, so that way you are fully knowledgeable enough for the retreat. Yes, it will definitely help out quite a bit for our retreat. We'll have discussions, obviously, on the retreat, but if you do plan on attending, I would highly recommend at least going back to our previous videos for the hindrances to just get a quick overview of what you've missed out on. That way, you're fully loaded with hindrance knowledge for the retreat. Okay. All right, everyone, thank you, and we'll check in when you put them.